You know, some stories, they just sound too good to be true, right? Like something straight out of a Hollywood movie. Well, this is one of those stories. But the thing is, it's all real. It's about a man who didn't just conquer his world. He conquered two completely different ones.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. Imagine that, a kid playing football with no shoes on some dusty street, who then grows up to be the best player in the entire world and then becomes the president of his country. This isn't some motivational poster, folks. It's not a metaphor. It's the actual real-life story of George Weah.
So where does a story like this even begin? Well, every great journey has a starting point, right? And for George Weah, his beginning, it wasn't just humble. We're talking about the harsh reality of the slums in Monrovia, the capital of Liberia. He was born into pretty extreme poverty, mainly raised by his grandmother. And when I say he had nothing, I mean nothing. No fancy cleats, no perfectly green fields, definitely no fancy youth academy. All he had was this fire inside him, this passion that just burned so much brighter than his circumstances. And so he played barefoot, right there on the dusty streets of the city.
And you know what? From those very same dusty streets, a talent started to emerge that was just unstoppable. You couldn't ignore it. It couldn't be contained. And that brings us to the first massive climb of his life, his absolute explosion onto the world football stage.
Think about it. So many incredible talents never get that one big break, right? But Weah did. And it came in the form of the legendary coach, Arsene Wenger. Wenger saw something in him, something special, and he made the call to bring him to Europe. And that one decision, wow, it literally changed the course of football history.
And his rise from there, it was just meteoric. I mean, he starts at some local clubs in Africa, and then boom, 1988, he gets scouted by AS Monaco. He goes to Europe. He tears it up in France with Paris Saint-Germain, and then he reaches the absolute top of the mountain with AC Milan in Italy. He wasn't just a star anymore. He was a global superstar. Okay, so after climbing that high, that fast, where else is there to go? There's only one place left, right? The very, very top. He's already a superstar, but now he's on the verge of making actual history.
The year is 1995. For anyone who loves football, this year is unforgettable. This was the year that George Weah stood on the summit of that first incredible mountain.
And what he did that year, it's just incredible. It had never happened before, and get this, it has never happened since. He became the first, and still to this day, the only African player to be officially crowned the best footballer on the entire planet.
And there was zero doubt about it. He completely swept the two biggest awards in the sport, the Ballon d'Or and the FIFA World Player of the Year. Just think about that. The kid from the slums of Monrovia was officially, without question, the best player in the world.
So that brings up a pretty big question, doesn't it? When you've achieved a dream that huge, something that seemed absolutely impossible, what's next? What do you even do after that? For most people, that's it. Story's over. Roll the credits. But for George Weah, that was just the end of chapter 1.
So he shifted his focus. He turned his eyes away from the football pitch and back towards his home country. It was like he heard this higher calling, and he started to get ready to climb an even bigger, even steeper mountain, the future of Liberia itself.
And this really gets to the core of who he is as a person. All that fame, all that money, all those awards, none of it made him forget where he came from. He never lost that memory of the dusty streets. He stayed deeply, deeply connected to his roots and to the people of Liberia.
And listen, this wasn't just talk. His commitment was real. Way before he even thought about running for office, he was kind of already acting like a leader. The Liberian national team couldn't afford jerseys or travel, he'd pay for it out of his own pocket. That's not just charity, you know? That's a serious investment in his country's pride. It was an early sign that this guy knew how to bring people together.
So his ambition it shifted. It wasn't about winning another trophy for the shelf anymore. The goal became something so much bigger, creating real, lasting change for millions of people in his country. This was a dream that was way, way bigger than football.
And then another huge year arrives. 23 years after he was crowned the king of the football world, he was about to earn a brand new title. One that was, in many ways, even more profound.
In 2018, George Weah did it. He completed that second impossible climb.
He was elected the President of Liberia. I mean, just trace that journey. From the slums to the world's biggest stadiums to the presidency. It's absolutely breathtaking.
So, when you look at a life like that, what's the takeaway? What do we learn? Because his legacy, it isn't just about the goals he scored or the trophies he won. It's about the incredible lessons his story teaches every single one of us.
I mean, just look at this, side by side. You have the footballer and you have the leader. On one side, you've got all the awards of a world-class athlete. On the other, the immense responsibilities of a national leader. It's almost hard to believe it's the same guy, but it is. He went from being a global sports icon to a national symbol of hope.
His life is almost like a roadmap, isn't it? Step 1, start right where you are, with whatever you've got. Step 2, never, ever forget your roots. Step 3, when you find success, use it to pull others up with you. And maybe the most important lesson of all, prove that where you come from does not define where you're going.
When you boil it all down, his entire life is proof of one powerful, simple idea. It doesn't matter if your starting point is playing barefoot in the dirt with absolutely nothing. Your starting point doesn't decide your ending.
And that leaves us with one final thought. George Weah took a dream that any sane person would have called impossible, and he made it real. He did it twice. A story like that, it kind of forces you to look in the mirror and ask yourself, what's my impossible dream? And am I willing to chase it?